Greetings and salutations from central Louisiana, just a few miles west of Dry Prong. From best I can tell, I think I got most of the old gasket material off. This is for the fitting that goes between the block and the water tubing up to the front. I don't know what kind of gasket they used on it, but it was a booger to get off. And if you looked inside after you took it off, it was a replacement gasket somebody put on there, but they had cut themselves and not did a very good job, which allowed the water to get in here and start pitting this surface. I did come back and do a file across the entire surface as a plane to see if I couldn't smooth it out. It's about as good as it's going to get until I think I've got a gasket for it. If not, I know how to cut one a little better than what was there before. Continuing on, one step at a time, I was looking at this, thinking I'd have to take this stud out, and I touched this stud over here and it basically just rolled out. And I see why. It was before pretty well corroded in there, so somebody I could say has worked on this before in years past. I'm not sure how sound these studs are going to do, but this is where we'd be. Some might say I just enjoy taking things apart, but I got all the studs out of here, which should allow me to bring the lift in here and hook bolts in here to get a little lift on this, so when I slide it forward I won't be fighting it so much, as this is a heavy piece of iron here. But it's got to come off. And then the face in here has got to be cleaned. The gasket's got to be cleaned down. This head will not be reused because it is split on the bottom. Somebody who had this tractor before me let it freeze and split down there. So otherwise I wouldn't have planned to be doing any of this. I would just simply slapped her together and tried to run her. But with the studs out here, I should be able to get the lift on this, and that'll help me take the head off. As I move along, I find myself discovering more and more things I've overlooked. Got to get these bolts off down lower, but this nut and this nut's got to come off because this lower cooling tube will have to come off, or at least be released enough that I can slide it down and get the head out. This is getting to be more complex than what I thought it would be. I don't want to take out the fan shaft unless I have to, but I may end up having to take this entire assembly here out to get this cooling tube loose from this rubber hose. Wish me luck. The more I dig into this, the more it seems obvious I'm going to have to do some things I don't want to do, like take the radiator loose underneath here so it can be lifted up and pulled back, which is what's going to take in order to get this lower cooling tube loose. In doing that, there's two bolts, one here and one on the opposite side, that hold this radiator in place. So once it do that, I should be able to slide the entire radiator back, taking care not to get the core into this fin, which can be removed prior to it. But did not intend to have to tear down as much as I'm tearing down, but guess what? That's how the die has been tossed for me. Taking off the head bolts that I could get to today, and that was interesting in many ways because majority of them were tight like it'd been put on an impact wrench, and they all just kind of turned loose with a click, which is a sound you really don't want to hear when you're taking bolts off a stud. But it released and they come on off. But again, I've got this water cooling tube here that's going to have to be moved forward in order to get it loose, in order to get the head off. So we'll work towards that.